This is Share the Vision, presented by the Resource Center, a discussion of the programs and services of the Resource Center and about issues related to individuals with disabilities. I speak to you as we record this on the morning of Friday, July 22nd, 2016, and I've been welcomed into the administrative offices of the Resource Center. As a matter of fact, Denise Jones, the Chief Executive Officer of the Resource Center, sits immediately to my right. She will be joining us in just a moment. But something significant has happened at this place on this day. And to give us an introduction to what that is, Steve Watterson, Community Relations Director at the Resource Center. Steve, always nice to gather with you for Share the Vision.
Hey, Dennis, thanks for coming down.
What has happened here today?
Well, we were very excited to get the fantastic news that after a 4-day visit from representatives from the Council on Quality and Leadership, that the Resource Center has received a 3-year accreditation from CQL, is what the organization goes by. And we're just very excited. It's a lot of hard work that really we've been focusing on for over a year. And CQL is kind of the gold standard that a lot of human service organizations, not only those that provide services to people with disabilities, but lots of other organizations strive for. And they had a lot of glowing things to say about us, which you're going to hear about as we go on.
Now, is this sort of accreditation something that is nice to have or necessary in order to do your work?
I think it's both, but certainly as things are going forward, talking about quality measures and quality assurance, CQL accreditation is something that organizations like ours really need to have in order to be able to do the best that they can and to know that we're doing the best that we can and have that measuring stick that shows that we're doing the best that we can. As they pointed out today, CQL is not just a national accreditation, it's an international accreditation, and we're just so thrilled and proud of ourselves to have been able to get this accreditation and really to receive the glowing remarks that they gave us today.
Now, one of the accreditors, if that's the right word, will perhaps be joining us a little later in this program by telephone. They are not in the building with us at the moment. They had to depart before I got here, but we may be able to catch up on their perspective on what happened here.
Absolutely.
With that, I will turn to Denise Jones, who is the Chief Executive Officer here at the Resource Center. Denise, first, congratulations.
Well, thank you so much.
What does this mean to you, just as a fresh question, to have this CQL accreditation?
I can't even begin to express how much it means to me. I think the one word that sums it up for me is just proud. I am so proud of the organization, our staff, our leadership, that we've been able to receive this accreditation. It wasn't come by easily. We've been working on this process for over a year now, but I'll say that we've been working on it since we began as an organization.
Have you ever had CQL accreditation before?
No, we have not.
Is this an organization that's been in existence for some time? It would sound like that they have a pretty good basis in delivering this kind of thing to the appropriate organizations under the appropriate circumstances.
Absolutely. They've been in existence for quite some time and obviously are very widespread. They're, as Steve said, not only a national accreditation, they're an international accreditation. So we'll be recognized worldwide as having this very rigorous accreditation.
What do they look at? It sounds like there's a lot of rigor in this. If you've been preparing for a year or maybe for as long as the Resource Center and its work has been going on here, what do they look at? What do you have to be prepared to have them examine at your place?
There was basically, we were in quality assurance accreditation with them, which means they look at basic assurances that we have all of those quality factors related to the service of providing supports for individuals. They have 10 factors that were incorporated in the basic assurances, and within those factors, there were a number of items that they were looking for. In fact, there were, I believe it was 48 individual factors. And they not only look at policies and procedures, but they actually conduct interviews with the people that we support and our staff to make sure that there's evidence that we're following the practices that we have written.
I was going to ask you that question next because sometimes evaluations like this take in today's modern world in particular, take kind of a digital form in which they're looking at things that have been inputted into computers or the results of services that have been written down or made note of in some way. This goes beyond that to actually talk to the people who are receiving the services and get their opinions, open the door for that feedback.
Absolutely. And it's all about how we as an organization support the individuals that we are providing services to. So it's making sure that we're meeting their needs, assisting them and supporting them in achieving the goals that they have set for themselves.
Did you court this relationship in a sense? Did you ask them to come? How does it come to be that the Council on Quality and Leadership, CQL, will begin an accreditation for a place like the Resource Center?
We have to start the accreditation process. We have to do self-evaluations, and that's part of what it took us a year as we were going through the self-evaluation process. We found areas, obviously, where there's improvement. What we've talked about is we're on a journey, a journey that we're going to be on for the rest of our lives as an organization here, because it's all about continuous improvement. It's always about providing the supports and services to the individuals and improving those supports and services.
This is very fresh. It just happened a little earlier today, concluded a little earlier today, happened over the last 4 days. But Denise Jones, it occurs to me to ask you a perspective question in that this is an organization that you have invested a great deal of your life and time into, and you have developed a certain perspective on how it works and an understanding of how it serves. How does something like this, someone coming in and doing this thorough an evaluation, you're smiling at me now, change that perspective for you? What new light, new angles does it give to you?
It is, and that's where I talked about the pride. It's so, I'm trying to think of a word to even describe how I feel. For me, as the leader of the organization, it provides a great deal of pride in knowing that it's not just us saying we're doing a good job, but it's a council on leadership and quality of leadership that's come in and seen a lot of other organizations, but have really brought the voice of the people that we support into this process as well. So, it's one thing for us to ask people how we're doing, but it's another for someone else to come in and ask how we're doing and validate that what we say we're doing. And I think that's just tremendous for us as an organization. It brings a lot of credibility to what we do, and for me, it just validates the things that we've hoped that we have imparted on our staff and the people that we support, that those things are present.
Now, does this change your to-do list in the sense of those things that you would like to work on? Did they make suggestions to you about what the next steps in this process, in this journey might be in terms of areas of improvement or areas of growth?
I don't know that it changes the path that we were on as an organization. Obviously, even to seek the certification, we knew we wanted to provide some continuous quality improvement to the supports that we're providing to individuals. They came in with 5 areas that they would look at for us to improve. And basically, as they were speaking, it's some things that we see. Sometimes they might want us to provide a written basically policy and procedure as to what we're doing to provide that evidence and that documentation of what we're supposed to be doing. In some cases, it's we had the documentation and we weren't following through on that. But in terms of the overall scope of what we were looking at, they said we did remarkably well, and they used the word remarkable as compared to other organizations as well. And they thought we were very far down the path for further accreditation in other areas.
Denise Jones, grateful to you for all your time. There are others who are going to speak on this subject here at the Resource Center today, but a final question for you. Where do you go with this now in terms of this information that you have garnered? Do you share it with the rest of the institution? What's the next step now that you're breathing this sigh of relief, smiling this smile that you have received this accreditation?
First of all, we have to take some time and celebrate the success that we have. The one thing that I'm impressing upon the management team is, it's one thing to say what you want to do, but it's another to actually reinforce it and model it. And obviously, our leadership has been modeling and reinforcing. So what we're talking about here is culture and moving culture with the organization. And I'm very pleased that our culture is aligned with the plans that the Council on Quality Leadership provide for this accreditation. So in that regard, we're going to celebrate, and then we're going to work, just like we always have, to improve the lives of the individuals that we support.
Denise Jones, as the person who's at the top of the management structure here in this organization, it is a joy to have a few minutes with you at this, if I may use the word, triumphant moment for you at the Resource Center. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, Dennis.
Denise Jones is President and Chief Executive Officer of the Resource Center in Chautauqua County. This edition of Share the Vision is coming to you from the Resource Center's administrative offices on Dunham Avenue. Virginia Vath is my next guest. And what is your title here?
I am the Assistant Executive Director for Quality Assurance, Quality Improvement, and Compliance.
This designation that you have just received, this accreditation from the Council on Quality Leadership, then, is really something that is very much a part of your arena on a day-to-day basis.
Certainly. I mean, I think it's the entire agency's arena. It really is, because I think that one of the things with CQL is that it is an international accrediting body, and they come to view and observe like programs like ours to see if they have like the shared values of what is considered to be CQL. And I think one of the reasons why we started looking at CQL is that as an agency we have certain beliefs that we thought also were shared by CQL. And we wanted to be able to have an objective observer come in to see where we stood in terms of those kinds of values.
And it has worked out very successfully. We just spent some minutes with Denise Jones. It sounds like it couldn't have worked out any better, Virginia.
Oh, really? Seriously? I mean, I think when we first started this, it's kind of like climbing a mountain, and it's like you look at the mountain and you go, egads, we can't do it. And I think once we started, and one of the things about this agency is it's a can-do agency, and I think you take the first step, put your right foot forward, and away you go. And I think that what we found is that we probably had a lot of things that we hadn't even recognized in ourselves in terms of we have a very solid foundation. That doesn't mean that we're done, doesn't mean that we still don't have a journey to accomplish, but I think that it makes me extremely proud to work for this agency because this has been a team effort. It's not something that is like one single person. It is a whole team of individuals from DSPs to nurses to our behavior support staff to our clinicians to you name it. It's not just been something that the leadership of the agency has decided to do. We've done it as a team, and it's a great effort.
Let me ask you this question broadly. In the context of CQL, if you want to, or just in the context of your work on a daily basis, to say we want quality is one thing. To be able to turn that into a set of procedures and activities so that you can assure quality is another thing. How do you make that leap with an organization that has as many employees, provides as many services, and in many different locations as the Resource Center does?
I think one of the things that we do is we take our beliefs and our values as an agency and we turn them into action steps. And I mean, I know everybody hates policies and procedures and protocols and processes, but I think what happens when you do that, you provide the tools for everybody to be moving in the same direction. It's one thing to say we want to go from like point A to point C, and we know what the outcome is, but you need to fill in the steps to get there. And part of it is like building blocks. And it's like make sure that we're providing everybody with information in terms of the direction that we want to go. We want to make sure that everybody is treated with respect and dignity. And then we put policies in place. We bring people in. We provide training. We make sure people are competent to be able to apply that training, if you will. And if it doesn't work so that we get the outcome that we want, then we go back and we revisit. And I think it's an ongoing process. And because you're working with people, it's always just a tad bit different. It's not as clear as if we do steps 1 through 10 that we're going to be able to do it. I mean, it really is, it's a philosophical mindset. And I think you have to look at the beliefs that we have as an agency, the values we have in an agency, and if you believe in those, then you're going to be able to make the right decision.
Virginia Vath, what will this do to your work in terms of quality assurance on a day-to-day basis now that you have received this accreditation? You've reached the top of the mountain. As you look around, how does the gestalt change?
It does. We just keep on moving. I mean, I think it's like almost like looking at a whole nother mountain. I think that one of the things with quality assurance and quality improvement is you're always looking for better ways. It's like you're going to improve upon like what you've already got. And I do. I mean, I think we've done that as an agency before. I think it was great to have CQL come in and look at that and see where we need to go next. But I mean, we've already got like projects lined up in terms of how we want to make sure that we are becoming better supports for the individuals that we provide services to, whether it's in OPWDD arena, OMH, DOH, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's all about improving the lives of people everywhere.
I want to say congratulations to you once again, and thank you for your time and your enthusiasm for this work, and particularly on this day that the accreditation has been received.
Thanks, Dennis. Much appreciated.
Virginia Vath is the Assistant Executive Director for Quality Assurance, Quality Improvement, and Compliance at the Resource Center. We are speaking today at the Resource Center, celebrating the Council on Quality and Leadership Accreditation that has just been received here this morning. And Michelle Albaugh is my next guest. Give me the right title for you here at the Resource Center.
Morning, Dennis. I am the Director of Learning and Development.
And in your office, as Steve Watterson and I have invaded, you have papers and notebooks full of things related to this accreditation. So you've been working very hard on this.
Yeah, the entire agency has been working on it for the past year, gathering information, highlighting the great work that our staff do on a day-to-day basis in meeting the accreditation standards.
Steve Watterson suggested as we walked in the door, and you're the third person that we've talked to here in the administrative hallway at the Resource Center about this, that maybe we drill down into some of the specific things that were evaluated, the means by which evaluation took place. What light can you shed on that for us, Michelle?
For the accreditation that TRC had applied for, which is Quality Assurance Accreditation, there are three distinct parts to it. One is shared values, one is called basic assurances, and the last part is personal outcome measure interviews. So what we have done over the course of the past year is take each of the probes, as they look at, as they call them, or indicators, and evaluated where the Resource Center stood in relation to the standards from CQL. We knew going in that we were very strong in some areas, particularly our shared values and a lot of our systems that we've worked very hard to put in place. We also knew that there were some areas that we could continue to improve, but very proudly I can say we already knew that through the self-assessment process, and we already have some steps in place to address those.
How does this go now from the terms that we're using or you're using here to describe it out to the street, as I point out the window, or out to the many places where the Resource Center works throughout the community and the county? Will it mean anything to the people who are working in the IRAs or at the Raymond building, just to cite a few examples?
I hope it means something to them because it's definitely a direct reflection of the work that our staff do on a day-to-day basis. It's indicating to not only our organization, our community, but other organizations similar to ours that the way we conduct business, the way we support individuals, the way we value individuals and their role in the community is within the high standards that CQL holds. CQL is kind of like the J.D. Power. You're getting that gold stamp, and we as an organization definitely should be celebrating.
The accreditation is for a certain period of time. Will you have to revisit this process at some point in order to continue to have the CQL accreditation? Maybe that's a premature question, considering you're just breathing a sigh of relief and celebrating achieving it today, but will it come back around again?
Absolutely, and actually accreditors, the reviewers that came in, already encouraged us to go for the next level, which is person-centered excellence. They indicated that our standards and our practices were very close to meeting that accreditation. This current accreditation is for a period of 3 years. We will have another on-site visit in 18 months, making sure that we're kind of on target with the plan that we have to submit within 30 days.
And you are comfortable, confident that this growth process can continue here? You could reach that next level of accreditation, Michelle?
Absolutely. It's definitely within our strategic plan as an organization. It mirrors where we want to go and where the board has kind of encouraged us as far as our growth and where Denise is leading us.
May I ask one final question? And I don't know that this is one that you can answer, but what might this mean to a potential employee of the Resource Center in terms of coming to work here and becoming a part of this place that has achieved this accreditation?
I would hope that what they would see is that we are a quality organization that is not just giving lip service to the fact that we put people first, but that by our systems and our practices is demonstrated to the Council on Quality and Leadership that we do in fact do that.
Michelle Albaugh is the Director of Learning and Development at the Resource Center. The same day that the Resource Center received its accreditation, I spoke by telephone with Jeff Shoemaker, a Quality Enhancement Specialist for the Council on Quality and Leadership. You'll have to listen carefully. I caught him by cell phone as he was about to get on an airplane. Jeff Shoemaker, tell us about your accreditation of the Resource Center, how you went about this, and what you found there.
This was a 4-day visit that we made to the organization. In the state of New York, this is a voluntary accreditation because the state of New York does not require organizations like the Resource Center to become accredited. However, if they are accredited, because the state also recognizes us and has worked with us, they recognize that the organization is noted as a good organization. What we do in terms of accreditation is we're looking at a number of areas for the organization. It goes beyond just meeting minimal standards. We're looking for them to be doing things at a much higher level than might be expected by monitoring from the government. And so we came in for the last 3.5 days, a team of 3 of us, and we visited with people, people that are receiving services, with staff. We took a very close look at the methods that they use in assessing people and working with people. Took a look at a lot of paperwork kinds of things, but this was not a paperwork review. Normally the Council on Quality and Leadership is much more concerned with the quality of life of the people receiving services. And the end result was that we felt that this organization should be accredited with us, and we awarded them an accreditation of 3 years just this morning.
What was it about the Resource Center that really impressed you? Were there things that you were delighted to see happening there?
One of the things that always impresses us, we are the Council on Quality and Leadership, and our name, as it implies, we're looking for quality, and we're looking for quality enhancement. We're looking for an organization that is not satisfied with where they are, and that's what the Resource Center is. Even very, very good organizations, if we want them to be constantly looking at themselves and trying to get better at what they do. And that was one of probably the most impressive things about the Resource Center. We also felt that they were very person-centered, meaning that when they make their plans, when they work with people, they really are concerned as much as any organization we've seen is with each individual and what their needs and desires are, rather than trying to do any one-size-fits-all kinds of things with people.
Jeff Shoemaker, this level of accreditation is not easy to achieve?
No. In fact, we at CQL have 3 levels of accreditation. This is the one that we normally use for organizations that are just starting out with us. And this organization, this is the first accreditation for them. It is not easy to achieve. In fact, many organizations that might wish to be accredited actually eliminate themselves in the application process because there's a lot that is required of the organization prior to our even stepping in the door. This was simply an event. It was a site visit, but it was based on a lot of hard work they had done in assessing themselves and in making some changes and letting us know how they did things prior to our even coming to the organization.
What happens now? Traditionally, how do these recommendations, this accreditation and the recommendations that come with it, how do they play out in the life of an organization, and what do you encourage them to do next?
One of the things that we encourage, of course, is to maintain the things that we felt were well done, and then we do make recommendations to improve services. We will monitor them according to how they work with those recommendations. There are several areas, relatively small number of areas, but several areas that we've asked them to make some plans about and tell us how they are going to improve those areas. And then we will be monitoring them according to how they follow through on that. And then we'll have another on-site visit in about 18 months to see what kinds of improvements have been made and whether or not they're continuing to support those good things that they've been doing. And this is a 3-year accreditation, so in 3 years they'll be eligible for the next step or another level of accreditation, which would be 4 years.
And the people at the Resource Center led me to believe that they might be interested in moving to a higher level of accreditation. What are the requirements for doing that sort of thing?
The basic requirements start with what they're doing now. We want them to be able to maintain what we refer to as basic assurances, which are those basic non-negotiable guarantees of health and safety and general well-being with people, as well as support people to have a high quality of life. And we have some assessment tools that we ask them to use in order to be sure that happens. Then we ask them to do another pretty hefty round of self-assessments. We come in with the next round of work. What we would do is we would pull in stakeholders from the organization, not only staff and people receiving services, family members, people in the community partners, people like yourself that know about them, and bring them in and not only assess the organization, but then use that assessment to assist the organization in making plans for the coming 4 years.
Jeff Shoemaker, as a final point, what is the overall benefit long-term of receiving and maintaining the kind of accreditation that the Resource Center has achieved today?
The greatest benefit is to those people that are receiving services. Our focus is always on the quality of life of those people that are getting services. And if, in fact, the organization maintains the basic assurances, the values that we have talked with them about, using person-centered approaches, it can only improve the quality of life of the people getting services. And in turn, if the quality of life of the people receiving services is higher, so is the quality of life of those that are providing those services. So that benefit is right now in this state, that's the greatest benefit. In some states, and it might be that New York may move toward this at some point, there may be some benefit to the organization from the state if they are accredited with us. However, that's because it's not required in the state of New York right now. There is no specific benefit around that.
Are there other ARCs or similar organizations like the Resource Center in New York State who already have this accreditation, or is the Resource Center the first?
There are. In fact, we've got organizations in the state of New York that are accredited at all 3 of the levels of accreditation that we provide. We've got some that have been with us for many years, and a number that have been with us for a few years. But yes, we do. In fact, there are more organizations that are becoming accredited in the state, and we feel that the services in the communities, at least, should be at a much higher level because of that.
Jeff Shoemaker, thank you very much for all the information that you've shared with us today. I appreciate it a great deal.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate your talking with me.
Jeff Shoemaker, Quality Enhancement Specialist for the Council on Quality and Leadership, CQL. So, Steve, what a moment, what a program to be able to present here from the Resource Center today in terms of what has happened. And there's just an ebullience, a joy about this entire administrative office today.
Oh, yes, we're very excited. I mean, especially people like Michelle, Virginia, Beth Germain, Jessica Smith, and some other people that were really, the whole staff was involved, but there's some folks that really had this as a focus of their work for a number of months. And to have all of that come together with this awesome news that we have been accredited by the Council on Quality and Leadership is it's a nice thing to close your work week on. And as other people have said, it's not the end; it's a beginning. This thing is a constant journey, and we are going to continue to do everything that we can to give individuals with disabilities the lives that they want to lead, and help them any way that we can to do that.
Well, congratulations again to all at the Resource Center for this CQL accreditation, and thank you for sharing the vision today.